The Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show is sponsored by Accunet Mortgage, an equal housing lender, NMLS ID 255368, and Accunet Realty Advisors, which is a separate company from but still affiliated with Accunet Mortgage.
Putting a roof over your head without the headache. Get answers to all of your home buying questions. This is the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
And our Sunday best to you. What a gorgeous Labor Day weekend. A great victory over fifth-ranked LSU at Lambeau Field yesterday by our Badgers. You just can't ask for a better Labor Day weekend. Welcome to the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show. I'm Steve Keppelar, along with Accunet Mortgage and Accunet Realty Advisors owner and president Brian Wickert. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Steve. I was at the game yesterday at Lambeau, and what a beautiful day it was for that.
Yeah.
And what a surprise. I mean, I was mentally prepared for a loss, but gosh, the Badgers look great.
Well, it was a sea of red in that stadium, wasn't it?
Well, we were on the Badger side of the field, and let me tell you, those LSU fans do travel well. I would say that all of, what side of it was the east side of the stadium was all LSU, pure purple. It was really, and they were really nice. We talked to a lot of them. They were nice people. I saw some people down in Milwaukee on Friday night, too. So they were staying all over the area. I can only imagine the positive economic impact that had.
Oh,
so it
huge.
was a great day. Great day and a great victory. So, hey, let's talk about, here we are, Labor Day weekend. Happy Labor Day, everybody. And I know everyone at Accunet Mortgage is happy to have the day off on Monday because we've been working really hard to help people buy homes and lower their interest rates on the homes that they do have already. Well, kind of the big number that's, or the big event that's coming up next is the Federal Reserve September meeting. That occurs on the 19th and the 20th. The Federal Reserve Open Market Committee meets to decide, are they going to finally raise rates? There's been a lot of jawboning about that by the Federal Reserve Committee members, including Janet Yellen herself. We talked about that last week, saying, hey, now I think it's the time to give it another boost. And just as a reminder, she came right out and said, it's going to depend on what the job market's going to do. So, did you happen to pay attention to the jobs report this last
Friday's jobs report, I think it was 151,000, which was below expectations.
Yep, you're pretty good. You hit the nail on the head there. 151,000 new jobs, which sounds like a lot, and it is, but it was 29,000 fewer than what the economists were predicting. They were thinking it was going to be 180. Now, remember, I've said before, what we should really be talking about every time we talk about jobs is the actual number of people who are working. So I'm just going to say it because I've been preaching that sermon for a while. And that number is 151.6 million. And the reason I think that's such an important number is those are the people who are paying taxes. And I was thinking, as Colleen was talking about the news there has been almost no discussion that I can detect about the national deficit and the unfunded Medicare and Social Security liabilities that we have. Have you heard anything in the presidential race?
No, and those are, that's a ticking time bomb that Congress has got to undertake.
Yeah, and we don't want to turn this into Charlie Sykes show, but the only way we have to address that issue really is to grow the economy and the labor force. Therefore, the number of people paying taxes is really important. So I'm going to say that every time we talk about the unemployment report or the jobs report, I'm going to remind people we do have 151.6 million people working. The number that most people pay attention to, though, which is kind of a bogus number, but I'll say it, is the unemployment rate, which is super low at 4.9%. And just by the way, I took the time to look up, and you have any idea, Steve, what the unemployment rate is in the Eurozone?
Oh, I want to say, if you're in parts of the South, it's got to be 20%, like Spain and
Greece is 23, Spain is 19, but Germany's only 4.2. It all averages out to 10.2%.
Okay.
But think about that. That's the second largest economic thing on the planet is the Eurozone, and they're at 10.2%. Folks, that's one reason why rates on mortgages in America are still as low as they are.
Yeah.
Anyway, the other things that are true about the unemployment and the jobs report is that there was a ton of jobs that were created in June and July, like 292,000 was the final number for June. That was revised up.
Yeah.
The number for July was 271,000. Put it all in the blender, and what we've got is a slight reduction in the chances, according to the Fed funds futures market, of the Fed doing a rate increase in September. It's down to 24%. Is the official betting parlor, chances of the Fed raising rates in September. By the way, the chances for a rate increase by the end of the year are more than half. They stand at 54%, basically unchanged from where they were before the jobs report came out. When we come back, we'll do a quick rate roundup, and then I want to start to talk about first-time homebuyer programs, because now that summer's officially over and we're back to school, this is the time when first-time homebuyers really come to the front of the line in the home buying season.
You're listening to the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show on 620 WTMJ.
Don't just find a house, find your home. Here's more of the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
Labor Day traditionally marks the turn for home moment in the presidential campaigns. This election season, however, has been anything but traditional so far. The guys on Wisconsin's Afternoon News will look ahead to the home stretch at 3:34 on Tuesday afternoon. Also, with Labor Day upon us, it's kind of a change in the real estate market. The first-time home buyer activity really seems to pick up if you don't have kids and got to move to a school. But we'll focus in on that after we take a quick look here at the rate roundup.
News about the jobs report and the Fed may be raising rates. Boy, mortgage rates are just still nothing short of fantastic. On a $200,000 30-year fixed rate with 25% equity and all the other right stuff, we ended the week still being able to offer a 3.5 APR, not just with no points at low overhead Accunet, but no loan costs whatsoever. Accunet could pick up the cost of your appraisal if you need one, the closing, the title insurance. We never charge any junk fees like the America's largest online lender, or frankly a lot of the banks around here and other lenders are charged, typically $1,000 in fees for things like underwriting, processing, administration, you name it. We don't have any of those at Accunet Mortgage. So, my theme in our radio commercials and just around the office and anybody I get the chance to talk to is you don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to know the Fed's not going to cut rates in September, right? It's either they're going to stay the same or raise them. So why wait? Let's, and remember, it only may take a 0.5% drop in rates to save you a lot of money on your mortgage. On the 20-year fixed, we've been doing more of that. People seem to want to pay off their loan faster, which is fine and dandy. And the APR on that with no points and no loan costs whatsoever is 3.375. If you want to go all the way down to 15-year fixed with no points and no loan costs whatsoever, the APR on that baby is 2.875. So really good rates are still shining upon us. Well, this week, Steve, I wanted to start out this story by getting into the first-time homebuyers with this really nice letter I got from a theology professor whose refinance we just closed. And he said, "Dear Brian, we're so impressed with your company and with your employees that we had to write this letter." It goes on to talk about closing at our office, and we got him a lower rate. He goes on to compliment our employees. And what I really liked, and I just thought I'd tell people that this is the kind of thing that happens when you work with our company. He says you're to be commended for the upfront and honest way in which you run your business. You're also to be commended for the high-quality people you hire and who represent your values so well. We appreciate all that you do. Please communicate to your employees that we're impressed with everyone and everything at Accunet. We wish you continued success. Isn't that nice? It made me feel real good. Because sometimes when you're the owner of a business, guess what you get to deal with? All the problems.
Unhappy situations.
All that. So this was a completely unprompted, spontaneous. Somebody, I didn't meet them. I didn't shake their hand at closing for whatever reason. Maybe they closed at their house. These people are just so happy they wrote it. So of course, what do? I email them back and I say thank you so much, and I tell them that I sent the letter to all the employees that were involved in your business, and there's just another reason to point that out. We have great coworkers at Accunet Mortgage. Happy Labor Day once again to everybody who works at Accunet. And then I don't know what I said. Hey, thanks a lot, and we'll probably never help you again. But if you know anybody else that would ever need help with their mortgage, let us know. And so this person writes back, and he says, well, as a matter of fact, my daughter and son-in-law, who are renting on the east side, are busily saving up to buy their first home. And so I emailed them back and I said, a lot of people have wrong information that they carry around in their head, and people only know what they know, that, maybe we could help them buy a home actually without any down payment. Or, did you happen to know that it's okay to gift your son or daughter or son-in-law money so that, they can buy a home sooner? So let's talk about that when we come back, because we have a couple of loan programs where people, first-time home buyers and even, believe it or not, second-time home buyers, can purchase a home with literally zero down. And a lot of other programs, too. We'll cover those when we come back for this next break.
And if you have a question, you can call us at 414-799-1620 or throughout the Midwest on the Accunet Mortgage toll-free talk line. That number is 1-800-877-1620.
Home buying advice from the guys who know it best. This is the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
The Brewers wrap up a 3-game series in Pittsburgh this afternoon against the Pirates. Chase Anderson takes them out for the Crew, and our game day coverage starts at high noon right here on your Brewers flagship, 620 WTMJ. It's now 10:25. You're listening to the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert here on WTMJ. So we were just talking about the rate roundup. We've transitioned now into first-time home buyers and myths that people hold in their heads that, I need to have a bunch of money for a down payment.
Right, and they end up delaying their home purchase because whatever they're thinking, I got to have 10% down, or I read in a magazine article I got to have 5% down, or who knows. Maybe they even think they got to have 20% down. I'm sure people carry that around in their head because they don't want to pay PMI or whatever the boogeyman is that they have preventing them from getting out there and buying a house. The other thing we've talked about before on the show is, the longer you wait, if you delay a year, home prices are probably going to be up 3, 4, 5%. And if rates are higher, that robs your purchasing power too. So clearly the number one obstacle to buying a home is accumulating the money for a down payment. So let's start with my favorite loan program for first-time home buyers. And remember, we got to divide the world, and you have the benefit of looking on your radio screen there, Steve, of this comparison that I've prepared for talking on the show. And this is the kind of thing that we put in front of home buyers or prospective home buyers as well. But my favorite first-time home buyer program, remember the definition of a first-time home buyer is that you've not owned residential real estate, so 1 to 4 family residential real estate, in the last 3 years. Okay? So if you got divorced 6 years ago, you owned a home while you were married, and now it's only 3 years later, you've regained your first-time home buyer status. Kind of cool. Mm-hmm. And so my favorite is the WHEDA, W-H-E-D-A, WHEDA, the Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development Authority first-time home buyer program that we can do with 0% down. It doesn't get any cheaper than 0%.
Wow.
And also, as you look at that first proposal, you notice it said it has no PMI.
Yeah.
So just to blurt out, I illustrated for purposes of talking about this, anybody who wants to buy a $180,000 home. Okay, $180,000 home. Let's just kind of blurt out that the total monthly payment, if the taxes on this place were $3,600 and the insurance was about $500 a year, you can have a monthly payment, including principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, and this includes a monthly payment for the down payment assistance loan. That's how we're going to make it 0% down. We're going to lend you 97% of the purchase price on the first mortgage, and then we can give you a second mortgage at the same rate on a 10-year fixed. In this example, it only has a $54 a month payment. You add it all up, and your monthly payment you see there, Steve, $1,220.
That's pretty doggone amazing.
Pretty affordable, especially with rates, rent going up. And, that's the number one reason we're getting for millennials right now who want to become homeowners is they're tired of paying rent. And the rent's going up. Now, if you look at that comparison I prepared on the pink line, the down payment is 0 because we're lending you 100% of the value of the home. And yet, if you look down on that blue line there, line 28, you still need $3,973, though. What does that consist of? Well, whenever you buy a home, by the way, that money can come from a gift, or the seller can pay those costs for you, as long as you negotiate that up front. You do have some loan costs. On a WHEDA loan, it does cost $1,725 for the appraisal, closing, and all that kind of jazz. But then you also have to buy your first year's homeowner's insurance policy up front. We've got that budgeted in here at $540. You also have to pay interest from the day you close until the end of the month, and you're going to have to pay for a home inspection. So those are all things that people have to know about, and as you can see on our really cool comparison that we use to educate home buyers, do you see line 27, Steve, where it says, here's the items that you're going to shell out money for before closing?
Yeah.
$2,370. Well, that also includes your earnest money. Remember, you're going to write an earnest money check. So the bottom line is our favorite here is the WTMJ loan program. 3% down, but don't worry, we can lend you the money for the down payment on a fixed rate 10-year loan, same rate as the first mortgage. I should say that the interest rate with no monthly PMI is 3.875. The annual percentage rate on that loan program is 3.9. Now, there's a couple of small drawbacks to the WTMJ loan program. One is it has an income limit. Another one is that it has a loan size limit. Let's deal with the easy one first, and then when we come back after the news, we'll talk about how the income limits work for WTMJ and the other loan programs that we have available. The loan amount limit on that program right now is $255,573. But I'm here to tell you that covers most first-time homebuyers. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion on awesome first-time buyer programs in Wisconsin.
And if you have a question, you can call us at 414-799-1620 or throughout the Midwest on the Accunet Mortgage toll-free talk line. That number is 1-800-877-1620. It's now 10:30 as we welcome in from the WTMJ 24-hour newsroom, Colleen Bolin.
Getting you into the home of your dreams. Here's more of the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
So we've been talking on the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show on this Sunday morning, Labor Day weekend, about first-time home buyers and the WTMJ program. There's a borrowing limit, and there's also an income limit that applies here, but this really is still a pretty wide path to work on.
Sorry, I had my microphone turned off there, Steve. So, yeah, it is, but so let's talk about those income restrictions. It's based on where the property is that you're buying, and that varies by county, although if you are in what WTMJ calls a targeted portion of a particular city or county, then there are no income limits. So, you know, you really kind of have to drill down on this, and we can help a first-time home buyer do that. But in general, the income limit, if you're in Waukesha, Milwaukee, Washington, or Ozaukee County, and they go by also the number of people who are going to be occupying the household, all right? Regardless of who signs on the mortgage, if you have 1 to 2 people in your household, it's $73,300. If you have as the income limit, if you have 3 or more people living in your household, so mom, dad, and a kid maybe, that's $84,295. The weird thing about WTMJ, it's not weird, it's just unique, is that we have to count the income of everybody who's going to live in the house towards that eligibility limit, regardless of whether they're signing on the mortgage. So kind of a little twist there. So let's say if you had a mother or a father that was going to live in there, you know, like a grandma or grandpa with you, and they got Social Security income, that Social Security income counts against the maximum that the household can earn, even if grandma and grandpa aren't going to sign on the loan. One other quirk about WTMJ, no condos. So it's only for single-family homes with the 3% down. If you do want to buy a duplex, it is a really good loan program for buying an owner-occupied duplex because you can do 5% down. Minimum credit score, by the way, of 620. Well, now, WTMJ has another loan program where it's not restricted to first-time home buyers. Remember, that's the definition of you can't have owned real estate in the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. They have what I call regular WTMJ, which the only restriction, in addition to the income, is that you can't own any other residential real estate at the time you close on the new WTMJ loan. So this is great for people who are selling, let's say they bought a duplex, 6 years ago. Now they want to buy a single-family home. They sell their duplex in the morning. Now they want to buy, their single-family home in the afternoon. Cool, we can do WTMJ, and you don't have to be a first-time home buyer. The restrictions are a little more liberal on the income for that 1 to 2 family household. That's now up to $84,295. If you're 3 or more people in the household, it's $98,955. And we can use that same technique of lending you 97% of the purchase price on the first mortgage, and you're also still eligible for that really cool WIDA down payment assistance loan, that little 3% filler to pay for the down payment. And you see in my little comparison there, instead of a monthly payment on this $180,000 home, the first-time home buyer is the coolest. That payment's only $1,220. You move over one column, you see that the payment for the move-up buyer under WIDA is $1,307. There's one other product that we have where it's a little wider eligibility geography-wise, because we can do this next product. It's called the Fannie Mae Home Ready product, also 30-year fixed, allows for a 3% down payment. There's no down payment assistance second mortgage that we have available for that, but we can do that in any state in the union, well, any state that we're licensed in. So this loan product is available not just in Wisconsin. Remember, WIDA is restricted to Wisconsin. We can do the Fannie Mae Home Ready in Minnesota. We can do it in Illinois. We can do it in Florida, any market where we lend. But this program also has an income limit, and this one zeroes into the super narrow census tract level. And so I was doing a little homework this morning, Steve, on census tracts. There are a ton of census tracts in Milwaukee County where there's no income limit, which would be really cool, because this loan product comes in at a monthly payment of $1,265 on a $180,000 home purchase.
Wow.
With 3% down. It has reduced mortgage insurance costs, which is kind of cool. But again, compared to our best case WIDA loan, where you still need about $4,000 to cover deposits into your escrow account, homeowners insurance, closing costs, etc. On this comparison, you'd have to have about $9,000. Why? Because you're making a 3% down payment, which is $5,400. But a really good flexible program, a sample for an income limit, if you are buying in a census tract that does have an income limit, is about $73,300 in Milwaukee County. And in Washington, Ozaukee, Waukesha counties, it's $70,200. Dane County, by the way, it's $80,300, because it's based on the average median income for the county. And by the way, the maximum loan amount on that technically is $417,000, but you're probably not going to get there if you're making $70,000 a year. You probably won't qualify for that much of a loan. The good news also about the Home Ready program, you can buy a condo with it. All right, so those are our three programs with the least down payment for first-time home buyers, although technically Home Ready, you don't have to be a first-time buyer, and neither do you on that second WIDA program. When we come back, I'm going to tell you about the low down payment programs for first-time buyers that have no income caps whatsoever.
And if you have a question for Brian, you can call us right now at 414-799-1620 or throughout the Midwest on the Accunet Mortgage toll-free talk line. That number's 1-800-877-1620.
Don't break the bank to get into a house. Back to the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
High fashion isn't just in Paris and New York anymore. Milwaukee designer Linda Marcus will be a contestant on the upcoming season of Project One Runway. And she tells our Eric Bilstad all about the local fashion scene and what she thinks the city needs to invest in next. Don't miss their sit-down during this weekend's WTMJ Conversations, which is coming up next here at 11:07 this morning on WTMJ. Brian Wickert is with us. We've been talking about first-time buyers, the WIDA programs that are available to first-time buyers. There's a lot of stuff that we've just thrown out there. But the bottom line, for people, they can go to Accunet's website and really get some great answers to kind of start them on the journey.
Yeah, that's a great place to start. But let me invite anybody, a listener who wants to help their son or daughter or grandchild or granddaughter. The best thing to do is to have a conversation with one of our licensed, friendly, expert loan consultants, because there's a lot of moving parts here. I'm
Sure.
telling you in the last segment, okay, what's the down payment? What are the income limits? Can you do a condo? Well, what about a duplex or a single-family home? The geography matters. So there's a lot of moving parts. Why knock yourself out trying to figure it out on your own? Yes, we do have a lot of information on the website at Accunet.com, but the best thing to do is just make a phone call and say, you know what, I don't know if I'm ready to buy a house or not, But here's where I am. This is
Sure.
what I have, and let's get started at least with a conversation so that you're not trying to figure this out on your own.
Here's the
In
other
general, go ahead, Steve.
If you go to a bank, they're going to have a certain line of products that they only offer.
Right.
Where with you guys, you've got a huge spread of people that you work with. And when you're asking questions, this is how much I make, this is how much I think I'm going to make in the future, I'd like to live here, I'm a first-time home buyer, I have this situation involving my credit, or maybe I don't. Your people have had a lot of experience in helping people sort through that to get to what's best for them.
Correct. Yeah. There's first of all what's possible, because some things are going to be ruled out. Right. The first three programs we just talked about, WIDA, a first-time home buyer, WIDA regular, and the Fannie Mae Home Ready, they all have income limits. So that's the first thing. Do you make too much money to qualify for this particular loan program? And a lot of people do. If you have two people working, it's not. A lot of people make more than $100,000 when they have two wage earners. And that knocks you out of most of these programs. So now let's talk about those where there are no income limits. And I'll tell you one type of loan that a lot of banks don't do is the FHA 30-year fixed rate. And on my little comparison here for the $180,000 purchase price, the FHA loan comes in with an amazingly attractive rate of 3.25%. Do you see that up at the top? But the annual percentage rate is 4.28% because FHA loans have both upfront mortgage insurance and monthly mortgage insurance. Now, despite those things, your monthly payment, remember our league-leading favorite, the WIDA first-time home buyer program with $1,220 monthly payment, the FHA comes in second place. It's got $1,239 for a total payment, and that does include the monthly mortgage insurance. So very competitive there. The FHA program requires a 3.5% down payment, so on a $180,000 loan, that's $6,300. The total tab for getting into the house, when you add it all up, including your down payment, things that you need to pay before and at closing, comes to $8,785. About $3,000 of that, though, could be picked up by the seller. Again, remember, folks, when I'm quoting these numbers of how much money it takes to get in, that all can come from a gift from a family member or multiple family members. The only downside to the FHA loan, the mortgage insurance never drops off. Also, really, really hard to do condominiums, despite there being some legislation that was recently passed to make that easier. That really hasn't made it to the marketplace yet. What's the other thing? Oh, there's a loan limit in southeastern Wisconsin. It's $288,650. If you go down to Kenosha, though, it's $365,700 is the FHA loan limit because Kenosha is part of the Chicago metropolitan statistical area. And if you're way up there by Minneapolis and St. Croix or Pierce County, the FHA loan limit is $318,550. FHA is also really good for duplexes. So we have one more program to talk about, and then I got some other stories after we come back from this next break, including a woman who called me this week who wants to move back to Wisconsin from Florida. Can you imagine that? I'll tell you that story and finish up with our first-time buyer programs when we come back.
Right here on the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show on 620 WTMJ.
Getting you through the home buying process. Welcome back to the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
On a gorgeous Labor Day weekend, we've been talking about first-time home buyer financing options and a lot of interesting choices out there.
Absolutely. I was at a dinner this last week at the restaurant PS23. They have a farm-to-table thing that they do because they have a garden there. It was really delicious, by the way. And I was lucky enough to be seated next to the Elmbrook superintendent of schools, cool guy named Mark Hansen. And we were just chatting, and he was telling me how there is just such a heightened demand. Their enrollment in Elmbrook is like over capacity. And I didn't know that because we used to live in Brookfield. Our kids went to the Brookfield school from kindergarten through high school. But they've started to have in Brookfield and Elm Grove a real turnover of housing stock where empty nesters like Becky and I, are moving out. And because of the excellent schools, they have a lot of demand for families moving in, right? So a lot of demand, that's good for housing prices. And so they have all happy problems at Elmbrook. But what came to mind for me, and why we're talking about this today, that was part of the reason why I'm thinking about this topic of first-time buyers. Well, everybody who wanted to get into the Elmbrook School District has already moved in because school started this week.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so now what you have is September and October, there are still people listing their homes for sale for the first time. But now you got a bunch of people who are motivated to move there with children. Well, they're not going to do it now. All right, so there's a little less demand here in the fall. And I was thinking about this. Both of our kids bought homes when? In the fall. We started shopping in September. And I think our son bought his house in November and our daughter closed in December. So it's not a bad time to be out there as a first-time home buyer. You have less competitors. Okay.
Well, for sure, and I think also when you look at this situation post-Labor Day, it's a good time for first-time buyers because, they don't have kids, but down the road they may be starting a family and they want to buy into a district that has good schools and has had a history of having good schools. You're listening to the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show here on 620 WTMJ on this Sunday morning. I'm Steve Kettlelar. With us is Brian Wickert. And if you have a question for Brian, you can reach us at 414-799-1620 or throughout the Midwest on the Accunet Mortgage toll-free talk line. That number is 800-877-1620. We've been talking about a lot of first-time home buyer scenarios and programs that you can end up getting into a home. If you haven't owned a home in the last 3 years, you can qualify for WIDA. You could qualify for a no-income limit Fannie Mae program or an FHA 30-year fixed loan program. The options are numerous, especially when you're working with someone like Accunet, who has a huge variety of potential lenders to work with, where if you're working with a bank or some of the more limited mortgage financiers and lenders out there, they only have a certain pool that they're going to lend from or work with.
If you can hear me.
Got you right there.
All right. Sorry, I lost my connection there. We're talking about the Fannie Mae 97 LTV. It's called 97 because we're lending you 97% of the loan amount or the purchase price. The cool thing about it is you can do condos and there's no income restriction. And the only caveat is one of the borrowers has to be a first-time home buyer. Sample 180,000.
Sounds like Brian's connection may not be 100% with us this morning. Again, we're talking about the no income limit Fannie Mae 97 program. You were saying,
there's
Brian?
no income limit. No income limit on the Fannie Mae 97. That's the best thing about it, and it's condo friendly.
No, he is connected.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I sure can.
All right. Can Ben hear us?
Yeah, I believe Ben can hear us
All
as
right,
well.
so
Yeah, we're all on the same page here.
All right, that's good. I love technology. I love computers. I love technology. So the bottom line, as we were, saying just a minute or two ago, is that there's a whole menu of tools in the toolkit. And the important thing is to get connected, I think, with a live human being. The nation's largest online lender loves to tout their, the guys with the rocket. You know what I'm talking about, how you can do it all yourself. I wouldn't recommend that. And that's not just because we don't have that ability, but there's just a lot of decisions to make out there. Why not work with a trusted, licensed professional to get that job done? We have next week off because of the Packer game, Steve.
Yeah.
So we'll meet you back here in 2 weeks. In the meantime, anybody who wants to take advantage of the low rates that are available right now to refi, you can get a refi checkup going with no Social Security number required at Accunet.com. Or, most importantly, if you're going to go out there and shop for a home, please, please, please let us give you one of our rock-solid, guaranteed, fully verified pre-approvals. One of a kind, comes with a $2,000 guarantee, and make yourself the next best thing to a cash buyer. That's all we got time for. See you in 2 weeks.
You've been listening to the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show on 620 WTMJ. Straight ahead, Colleen Boland joins us from the WTMJ 24-hour newsroom.
The preceding was a paid program. Advice and opinions expressed during the Accunet Mortgage and Realty show are solely that of the hosts or guests of Accunet Mortgage and Accunet Realty Advisors and not WTMJ Radio or Scripps Media Incorporated.